high vibeness is not about being happy all the time, because there is no contrast in life if you're happy all the time. You're probably just delusional or on some kind of chemical that helps create that, but it's false, right? It's about drinking in the moments, even the moments of quiet, and being fully present to those and cognizant of those, of the richness of every experience. But I do think high vibe living and fucking the shoulds is all about allowing the universal momentum of energy to guide us to live our best lives. And that is the most overused term, and it sounds like a complete wank fest, which is not how I mean to use it. But
maybe a good way to start is to Fark I should.
It should. Welcome everyone to this, are we calling it our Virgin podcast?
It is.
Yep. Awesome. Welcome everyone to this beautiful Virgin podcast of, I think we should probably say F the shoulds. Should that be the thing we say in case this is being spoken out loud?
It should be, but the word we're choosing to use is Fark. That's
F-A-R-K.
Yes, that's a definite A in there. But
so we're keeping it clean.
We're keeping it as clean as we can. You'll probably hear the other one through the talk, but that's okay.
No doubt.
So basically it is Faark The Shoulds.
Yes, and we are delighted to be joining you wherever you're joining us. I'm Jodie from QuantiMama.
And I'm McGill from QuantiPapa.
Yeah, and we know each other quite well. And we're excited to, I guess, begin this chat. We have had a few conversations about, I guess, creating a podcast that is full of conversations around how to create a high vibe life. We're really interested in creating conversations around amazing births, really insightful, intuitive parenting, and ways to actually live in a very high vibe life. And the thing that came around was that we started noticing language, and one of the big things that we noticed was how often we all say should. And we really wanted to put a stopgap in that to really stop that from happening, because shoulds are just such a red flag, aren't they?
Well, part of moving into that high vibe alignment and that high vibe or best version of you is recognizing what some of the things are that are holding you back. And for us, we found that we were doing a lot of shoulds.
Yeah.
I should do this, or I should.
People everywhere do shoulds, don't they?
And for some reason, not for some reason, I mean, we're constrained by society, by expectation that we put on ourselves, by expectation that we... Commitments, things that other people put onto us sometimes, and we don't really want to do them.
Yeah.
Or we have, sort of... We have an objection to doing it all the time, but we have this real overarching feeling that we should.
Yeah.
And so as a result of us thinking we should do it, we end up stepping out of that high vibe area where we wish to be.
Yes.
And we do a should.
Yes. Because the high vibe lifestyle is actually living in alignment with essentially whatever you want to call it, your source connection, your soul contract, your inner knowing, all the tells that your body gives you that are big yeses and clear no's. And that high vibe life, when you start honoring a lot of those things, that a lot of other things fall into place. And I have been really noticing when I say shoulds, and I'm trying to auto-correct it, because I actually have a belief system around this, that when you do a should, then the universe will give you a little tap to say, oi, back over this way. And if you keep going against that messaging and you keep doing the shoulds, you actually end up getting a big kick up the butt at some point, don't you? Or, as we've said before, the universe will throw pebbles to get your attention, and then when you don't listen, it'll throw a brick to really get your attention. And so we are so keen to explore this idea of fucking the shoulds, so that when you hear yourself say, I should do that.
Or when you feel in your body
that's
something that's been asked of you, or something you're about to do or commit to is a should. It's not one of those things that we're jumping out of our skin going, yes, I want to do that. you need to examine why.
Yeah. And we want to model that behavior to our kids as well. And that's all part of having a very high vibe lifestyle with your kids as well. And this whole conversation has been coming around for, quite a few months, and we notice and we joke about it with, our beautiful circle of friends, and pick each other up when we say should. And, I've got a t-shirt that says "Fuck the shoulds" now, because I just really want that message to keep being reinforced. But we had an experience today where it really brought it into perspective how strong the programming is around shoulds.
Yeah. And I'll just go back for just a sec.
Yeah.
When we're talking with our friends and our people we're close to, and they'll tell us what they've done, and you'll just see them in their mind ticking over it, going, "Oh, I've done a should.
Yeah.
I really didn't want to do that." And and sometimes we ask the question, or they come to the conclusion themselves, where you might say to someone, "So was that a should?" Or they say to themselves, "Oh my goodness, that was a should. I really didn't wish to do that or be part of that." So, it's not only becoming aware of it and having a discussion about it, but we're still going to do them.
Yeah.
And there's times where we have to.
Noticing that programming, isn't it?
So, but it's acknowledging them for what they are.
Yeah. So I feel like we should maybe.
We should.
We should. Oh yeah, thank you. So useful. I would really, my heart desires that we create some clarity around this, because McGill and I both have this sense of what we want to bring to community and what we want to embody in ourselves is living in what I would call a pure love state, which is really living in alignment with the way nature operates, which is sometimes beautiful and blossoming and gorgeous and fragrant, and in other times is quite ruthless and harsh. And not to say we want to live in a harsh environment, but we actually want to be really honest about the way we live. And that's, I think, a very human experience. And one thing that I really feel strongly about is that we have so much layered programming in our lives, don't we? Like, it's societally, it's embodied in families, it's embodied in generational stories as well. And a lot of those, when you do those things, you can actually feel in your body that doesn't actually feel in pure alignment. Like if you were allowing your heart to actually make decisions, and we talk about the heart because that really is the guidance system for living an authentic life. The head is the thing that mucks up your decision making, doesn't it? Because it goes through all the logical things. But if you check in with what your heart really desires, or if that feels a bit foreign, check in with how your body feels, feeling yeses and feeling nos, and they have feelings. I mean, try it out. It's a great thing to become aware of. But we have this desire to live authentically and model that behavior not only to our kids and our community, but to the wider community, and actually just keep reaffirming the fact that when we live in an authentic way, in that pure love state, then everything benefits. So the community benefits. And
hence the reason why we came to the conclusion that it is Faark The Shoulds, because that is what, for us, has been tipping us off a lot. And
that's nature's brutality at work, isn't it?
Well, it is, but recognizing it, understanding it, and then taking a bit of control over it is a step in that right direction of really pulling yourself into alignment with yourself, living to your highest good, getting the most out of life. And sometimes it is harsh when you've got to say, I'm not going to do that one because it is a should. And it doesn't serve me, or it doesn't serve that person. And other times it's I've got to show up for that, and I need to do that. And it's a want and a desire and a need to do it. So you do it, as opposed to an obligation of, I should. Yeah. I should get out of bed this morning, or I should go and do this.
Yeah, that's right.
It's no, I'm up and I'm going and I'm off.
Yeah.
And that's getting right into that alignment.
It skips the thing where you grant yourself permission, or you get permission from someone else. Like, I've even struggled with that conversation about, you give yourself permission. I'm like, who decided we actually need to ask permission? That suggests a lack of disempowerment to me. if we are sovereign beings in our own body and living in community and in harmony with nature, then we don't need permission for anything. We just have to live in the greatest life of honor in that way. You know, you honor self, you honor your community, you honor your environment. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, it's that empowering yourself.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, definitely. So
yeah, and it doesn't mitigate all the shitty feelings that you might feel during life. Sorry, kids. I should say there's a language warning anytime I get talking. So McGill, he's okay, but me, I'm a little bit of a sailor. Yeah, but anyway, what we wanted to do was, I guess it was funny because we are really interested in showing up authentically to you. So there is, please forgive us, we don't plan anything. We literally just go, what do you want to talk about? Let's talk about this. And that's it, you know, and it is part of having real conversations about stuff. And it sometimes it feels very such a first world middle class problem, you know, this idea of fucking the shoulds and, you know, shall we have fish for dinner, or, you know, shall we go out for dinner? And, you know, like, it's just so middle class. But I think there's a lot of discontent in our society in the middle class because we have so many expectations that are put upon us and we've placed upon ourselves, and there's so many shoulds in our society that creates that discontent.
And as a result of all this, we are constantly putting ourselves under unnecessary pressure.
Absolutely.
And we are creating a falsehood to a point on what we're achieving, or what we think we're achieving, or in fact what we're not achieving and what we're missing.
Yes.
And that's probably been the big change for us, is that all of a sudden we're looking at a lot more things in our lives and going, you know what? We don't need to do that.
Yeah, that can go on the cutting block.
Yeah, you know, that's a should. That's something that, not interested in that, because I have a need or a want or a desire to follow my heart on this one.
Yeah.
And off you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the more that we recognize what our shoulds are,
we can make guided decisions for what's right.
We do. We make better decisions. We suddenly have more time. And when we show up to people or interact with people, we are showing up as their authentic selves.
Yes.
Exactly as you said.
Yeah.
The podcasts are unplanned. We sit down, we talk about a topic or a subject that is near and dear to us, or has led to change for us.
Yeah.
And we just spit it out there.
Yeah. So I guess while McGill clears his throat, it's a little bit of background. McGill and I come to this place, I think, having really honed our ability to listen to our hearts and operate from that space. We both have extensive experience in emergency services, which I think afforded us a really incredible opportunity to witness, I guess, the fragility of life, or certainly the assumption that, you know, things are just fine and you get concerned about getting a big screen TV when really that's actually not the richness of life. You know, the richness of life is time spent with loved ones. I find being of service to people a great thing as well, being in the community, having moments of peace, checking in with, you know, whatever you want to call it, your divine connection, your godliness, your source, your quiet time, your connection with nature. But that quiet space that we don't occupy very much, because we have constantly one of these devices in our hand. We have stuff going on around us. There's always a TV on the background or radio, and we're constantly being, you know, just exposed to this programming that is around us all the time that really drives the should stuff as well. And we are of the opinion, after seeing such an incredible cross-section of the community when we were of service in our professional roles as emergency service providers, that a lot of discomfort in our society could actually be mitigated by starting to adopt a lot of really simple, low-cost habits, isn't it? Changes. Noticing the changes and making better decisions. And we just don't see the need for the heartache that is out there, you know, whether that's within relationships and family units, or whether that's in workplaces, or whether that's at an individual level where the person is really pained, it often is just an opportunity to change perspective, and I was always struck by Bruce Lipton's words, who talks about perception being the camera lens through which we view life. I just thought, God, that's such a simple and eloquent way to describe how to actually high vibe your experience, because it's all a choice on how we actually view life. And
perception is your reality.
Yeah, that's right.
The way you perceive things is the way that you're going to live them.
Yes.
So if you have a little bit of control over that lens, or that little bit of control over your perspective, or you can step back and look at something and examine it before you make a decision as to how you're going to experience it, then you have the ability to have a much better outcome.
Well, you change your experience and you have a ripple effect on your community. And that's incredible, right? Because we live in community no matter what.
And a really good example of that, of changing your perspective, and this will be probably a different topic we'll talk on at some point, but in particular is death, which is one of the really challenging things. And drawing that into personal experience, both my parents have passed away, and both of their funerals, we decided that we were just going to hit it as a party.
Yeah.
Everyone goes, I want my funeral to be a party, I want this, but we turned up. There's no alcohol there, but we turned up and we had jokes, we had laughs, we had music, we had
fancy dress.
Yeah, we had fancy dress at one of them. Mum was right into netball. We had 350 people at her funeral before COVID, thankfully.
Thank God.
And people turned up dressed as sports people because that's what had been her entire life. Yeah. So in a room of,
it was a true celebration of life.
It was, and it was a celebration of, off you go. Yeah. And the people, I remember it distinctly. I can't remember the lady's name, but I hadn't seen her for probably 15 years. And she came up at the end and grabbed both my hands and said, "That was the best party ever." That's probably really inappropriate. She suddenly realized what she was saying to me.
Yeah.
And I looked at her and I said, "That's what we wanted."
Yeah.
That's awesome, because you walk out of here with a real feeling of, I remember exactly what that person's life was. And that sort of high vibe stuff is,
well, we were very, I think we were very powerfully committed to the idea of creating celebration, you, me, your sister and her husband. It was a nice little quartet making the decisions. But if you were to kind of view that from the point of view of, say, the funeral parlor and the staff there, we were really fucking the shoulds all over the place, because that is not what is done at funerals. I know that funerals are changing now, and I agree. I think this is a whole other conversation that we could definitely have, and I would love to do that at some point, because we do death very badly in our little Western society. We do death very badly, and there is an opportunity to really shake it up and honor it. In the words of, I think, Dr. Zach Bush, who another amazing guy as well, he talks about the two opportunities, and they are birth and death. And I mean, there's conversations around birth we can have about high vibing birth, but high vibing death as well is a great opportunity to have a conversation around that. But the effing the shoulds, what I want to come back to is this idea. This is a little bit this podcast, I guess, or this conversation, I should say, is a little bit of a love letter to my family, because one of the last vestiges of shoulds in our lives is family ties. And that's not to say that we want to untie those family ties, but we had an opportunity today. So this is very fresh and very raw, and I want to honor my family when I sort of share this with you. But we had the opportunity to really F the shoulds in a major way, that, we cancelled a trip that was going to stretch us so dramatically in our life, like just in a way that we were just trying to squash so much into one day. And I could already see the fatigue there. And you could argue that we were in one version of reality, because we're all about quantum living, and there are many timelines out there, but we were in the one timeline where the kids were absolutely exhausted. We were going to inflict upon them something like a 12-hour day to go and see our beautiful family who we are missing terribly. But it was just, it all felt so squishy and so pushy. And, you know, I love Bruce Lee's quote, be like water. Like, if you ever want to break stuff down, just which way is the flow going for you? And if you are pushing upstream, to me, the universe is saying, you're going the wrong way. And it's trying to get your attention. And they're the pebbles. And the bricks are coming if you don't listen, aren't they?
And it's not sustainable.
It's not.
So we're in a position where we were really keen to go and catch up with family. So we're looking at probably, you know, 10 to 11 hours in a car, 4 or 5 days away, 10 to 11 hours back. And we have been running flat out since bore Christmas.
Miguel and I do that a lot, don't we?
We do. We're getting better because occasionally we're saying...
Better at doing a lot?
No. Well, occasionally we're saying Faark The Shoulds. So we're not doing as many of the shoulds.
Yeah.
But again, for us, we're trying to create that balance in our lives. And what became apparent was that we needed a rest.
Yeah.
We wanted to go. We all want to catch up.
Yeah.
But we're not in a position where that's going to be in any way a high vibe catch up.
Yeah.
We're going to be exhausted and tired.
Yes.
And
it didn't feel like high quality, did it?
Yeah.
And the thing is that we could, you know, provide a litany of reasons as to why it wasn't in everyone's best interests. And one thing I think we'll talk about in future conversations is our use of muscle testing, whole body muscle testing. If you don't know about it, go YouTube it, or, you know, use your search engine to get you some answers. But it's awesome. We find it to be a very quick way to get out of this for decision making and back into, say, this or the body, to get clear on stuff, because it's not like the head is any wiser than the body in that way. So we just take our lead from the body. But we use muscle testing. And so what I want to share with you is that when, like, literally we have been planning this for weeks, and we've pulled the pin today, and we were meant to be going tomorrow. So, like, it's pretty last minute. And it's not for me to share how my family received, my family received their news. That's theirs to share. I won't necessarily discuss that. But what I do want to talk about, which I think is where the real richness in this experience comes from, was that we had to tell our 4 kids that we weren't going, and they are just hanging to catch up with their cousins. They haven't seen them for the better part of a year, and certainly haven't had quality time. And I had to work out a way to, because I assume responsibility for this. McGill was in the passenger seat for it, bless his cotton socks. So he just sat in the support role for this. And I tried to work out how to tell the kids. And my first thought was, well, I'll get them all together and we'll sit down as a family and we'll have a family meeting. And I think I said to you this morning, look, let's make sure that we hold space for them. So holding space basically means you don't react. You sit in the observer in a very loving energy.
And you give them the information, and you allow them time to give back their emotions or their feelings or their thoughts.
Because they're allowed to process their feelings and emotions. And trapped emotions are one of the greatest causes of illness in our society. So we absolutely live by that adage, don't we? And so create spaciousness for the kids to have their response, because otherwise it tells them that their response is invalid or that it doesn't matter. And that's not true. They are living beings with really full emotions, particularly our youngest one, who's very good at swearing as well. He uses language for his outbursts, doesn't he?
He does. He uses it in context, which Jodie is very proud of.
Very proud. Well, we homeschool too, so I consider that to be English and literacy tick. But anyway, so there was that. And then just in a moment, because I always try to carry the vibration, doesn't always work, but carry the vibration of, keep fucking the shoulds, notice the shoulds, change the shoulds. And in a moment, I just went, oh, I think that's going to be a really shitty experience for them. Because what happens is when you deliver information, the collective of the group has an energetic response. And sometimes that energetic response is way stronger within the group than what would be experienced on the individual level.
And in a group situation, every individual at that point may wish to be heard.
Yes.
So there's a little bit of, how am I going to get the attention that I need in this particular scenario to get out this emotion I'm feeling. And then the person next to them wants to express their emotion and their emotion. And we're sort of sitting back going, we're holding space and they're just.
And we're tired. So what we did was, you know, I think intuitively we ran through the scenario of sitting in that environment, of delivering that information, holding space, trying to keep it at a level where they could understand it, trying to keep it heart-based, trying not to be defensive, because, you know, I am so effing tired. My eyes are blurry. Like, you know, look, I might need glasses. I'm not admitting to it, but I'm pretty sure I've got 20/20 vision and I'm quite fatigued. So we're going with that. And I just thought, oh, I can see there's so many potholes with that execution, isn't there? So in just in this moment, suddenly this opportunity that I had one kid just there, and I just went, I need to talk to you. So I am.
So basically, instead of sitting into that group scenario, which we've done before, we decided, no, let's grab the kids one-on-one.
Yeah.
And let's tell them the news and hold that space for them in a one-on-one setting. And when you got 4 kids, that's not always easy.
No, it virtually never happens.
But at the same time, we had real benefit out of this. So from our point of view, we were farking as should this morning. We were saying, no, we're not going. As Jody said, we've got all these reasons, but at the end of the day, we're honouring ourselves. Now, we're 2 out of a family of 6.
Yeah.
So there's 4 other beautiful spirits in here that need to be honoured. So Jody, to her credit, came up with this wonderful idea of saying, I'm just going to do them one at a time, one-on-one.
Oh, I literally was like water. The opportunity presented itself. And so it's about being present to the moment and noticing when those opportunities come up, because this came up so beautifully orchestrated. Like, it was just perfect. I had a quiet moment outside. It was with number 3, and he's an intuitive little soul. And I just spoke from my heart, and I said, I'm so worn out. I'm so exhausted, and I don't know how to make this happen. I want it to happen, but I just don't know how to make it happen. There's just too many things going on, too many balls in the air, and it breaks my heart to say this to you, but I just need to cancel the family trip. And he looked at me, and we've got a kid incoming. So, hey, darling, be with you soon. That's how it goes, right? I mean, you know, we're at home. But I do want to finish with this. So
you're with number 3?
Number 3. And I looked him in the eye. So one of the things that's really powerful is left eye communication. So what you actually do is you look into the other person's left eye, which is the receiving left eye. The right eye is considered to be
a bit more confrontation.
Yeah, well, and so it's a communication eye. It's an outgoing eye, if you like. It's an upload eye as opposed to a download eye. So looking at the left eye and communicating from that point of view, and then just allowing some spaciousness in the conversation, because I think sometimes what can happen is we move into defensive mode just to try and cover, you know, or mitigate a lot of big reactions, you know, trying to supply them with reasons as to why this is not going to work out this time. And I just resisted it, because that's old programming to do that, to try and dampen down reactions to lessen my discomfort. And I was really quite upset with myself and with what I thought was my lack of capacity. And I have a lot of capacity usually. I'm a bit of an ever-ready bunny.
And the whole idea of having a one-on-one was to hold space for him. Not to. He can see the reasons. I mean, he might be all 10 years old, but he's a switched on little kid. They all are. We don't give our children enough credit.
No.
And so we're learning this from our children. When we hit them with that real raw honesty and are just open and raw to them, we are often very surprised.
They have capacity
by their reaction. So tell me, so you've sat down, you've got the beautiful eye contact going, you've delivered the news that this is what's the change that's going to happen. You know, that beautiful little vacation you were waiting for, and that
tear up now.
Time with your cousins that we were all planning, we were all looking forward to. We're now not going to do it. So what was the feedback that you then got from number 3?
So it's making me emotional now, because the thing that made me most emotional with this little exchange was the capacity that I saw in our son. And he just looked at me and he said, "It's okay, Mum." And I said, it's not okay. It actually sucks balls," because that's how I talk to my kids. I'm like, "It sucks balls. Like, it really sucks. And I'm so sorry that I'm doing that." And he said, "I can see you're tired. It is okay. And in fact, I'm okay with all of that." And so, like, he's one of the ones that I did expect to kind of receive it, but his words were so reassuring. And then what happened within that was I was able to have some tears, and I haven't been able to tap into the tears, which are very much tears of overwhelm, like just going, I run at about 95%, don't I? Like, I'm like pretty full, like you fill the cup up, almost to the top where it pours over, but not quite, just the osmotic pressures keeping it inside the cup. But it felt like a few extra drips were making it flow over.
Yeah, I would say that you run at about 110%.
Well, thank you, sweetie, but that doesn't work.
But it's interesting what you're saying is all of a sudden the emotion you're feeling and the tears, bringing that back to the fact that it's overwhelm that you're now able to express because you've been holding it together.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of that has impacts in all other parts of your life.
Yeah, it does.
And this is where we're saying, when we say Faark the Shoulds, when we take a few of those shoulds, suddenly we start honoring a bit more of what we want in life.
Yes.
And we get to a point where we can hold that space around us a bit more and we're more present.
Yes. Yes. And I guess what I just want to touch on is our daughter is so heart-based. She's just gorgeous with how heart-based she is, but she feels emotions
and big emotions.
So we hold space for that. And I knew that this was going to be difficult for her, but I also said to McGill, I really want to make sure I'm not sitting in the future where I'm assuming that she's going to have this big reaction to it, because in fact that's really unfair. And in fact that creates a broadcast signal that then she bounces back. And so am I creating it? How much am I engineering this situation? So I really wanted to have a real clarity about how I approached even talking with her and giving her some spaciousness to feel what she wanted to feel without me expecting it. And immediately she held space for me, because again, more tears. And it was a really interesting morning, and there was some richness. There was a tremendous amount of richness in having that vulnerability around your children, because if we're going to regard them as whole and complete humans, which they are, they're very absorbent up until the age of 7. They're very absorbent up until the age of 7, but they are still complete, and they still have their own sense of divine connection and personal instructions and autonomy, especially when we afford that to them. And what was interesting was this kid that has really big emotions and big reactions usually, so that's been our experience, today held space for me and just kept saying it's okay and it's fine. I said it's not okay and it's not fine. And I said, if you really have some big emotions, feel free to come and give me the proverbial slap across the face, or you can shout at me, or you can rage, or you can, let out anything that you need to let out. You don't need to hold that within. And it was beautiful, because she then didn't indicate she was going to do that, which she had been sort of saying to me, "Oh, no, I don't need to." I'm like, "It's fine." And then she walked off, and then I could hear that she just had this huge gush of tears. And I just stuck my head in her room and I said, "Do you need more support? Shall I send Dad?" Because it was acknowledging the fact that I wasn't the right person to hold space for her in that moment. And so we have the luxury of 2 parents in our household. And so your household might look different, but there is always an opportunity to allow kids to have their reaction, honor their ability to hold space for you, and honor your needs in that moment, and then go and move through and understand and release their experience, and their emotions. And you went and did that really beautifully, which I was so grateful for.
And it was as simple as, all I went in was just sat down and cuddled her. And funnily enough, the first words out of her mouth were, "I know it's the right decision." And then she let go of her grief in relation to that decision that we'd been made. And probably 4 or 5 minutes, if that, and then she suddenly went, oh. It's almost as though, and we probably had that experience where we've got the emotion out and suddenly life looks a little bit different. Or we hit a point where we go, oh, yeah, I've dealt with that now. And so we talked a little bit more, and we talked about, other things that we might be able to do to help her connect with her cousins. And
but we don't try and replace what we've taken away, which I think is really important.
Yeah, we didn't say, oh, we're going to go
well, let's go get an ice cream, or let's go make
or we're going to go in 3 months' time, it'll be okay.
Compensatory or bargaining thing. Yeah, we don't like doing that.
No, and you never offer something that you can't deliver.
Yeah, correct.
And you never promise something that you're not going to deliver.
Yeah.
Because then you're not truly living in alignment with with who you are.
Yeah.
And to her absolute credit, she moved through it so quickly, and because this was a big change for them,
and we saw another side of her.
Oh, unbelievable.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
Which then changes, when you notice that, it then changes even your perception of your child. I mean, this could be applied to anyone in your inner circle, but often we constrain people with our previous experiences, so we have a set of expectations on how they're going to respond. And again, it picks up on that thing of, how much is my expectation creating a ripple effect in the energetic field between us, the interaction? How much is that actually steering this experience, or impacting it?
And that expectation that we have that, I'm going to tell my partner this, I'm going to tell one of my children this, and they're going to react poorly, and this is going to happen. And so we go in there with that, and that's exactly what we get back. And
we try and control and steer it. And in fact, it's not ours to steer. Once the words leave your mouth, you're responsible for how you present, your energetic signal, your choice of language, which is a whole other topic, but words are just so powerful. But you are responsible for all of those things. You are responsible for delivery. You are responsible for your authenticity. You are responsible for showing up fully, and I think in a heart-based way. And then you must release it. And it is not yours to steer. It is not yours to shape or corral into some kind of outcome, because that's actually very controlling, and it doesn't allow for an honest response.
Well, a true expression and a real moving through of the emotions.
Right.
And that's where, in this particular case, a child has the ability to learn some skills.
Yes.
For when they're in a situation where they might be the parent, or they might be the adult, or they might be turning to a group of their friends in a social, with a bit of, social pressure on them, and standing up for themselves. And we do them a disservice when we take these opportunities away from them.
Yeah.
So
true.
We fucked our should this morning.
We sure did, and it may have upset our family.
And there's been a ripple effect from that.
Yeah.
And there may be more ripple effects, but we know that we've done the right thing.
Yeah.
And in the way we've dealt with the flow-on effect for that for the rest of our immediate small community, we've learnt that there is more capacity there within our children.
Yes.
So, well, that's a beautiful example because it's a raw one. It's happened today. Yeah. It's, you can see that Jodie's still emotional by it, and will be for a while.
Maybe.
In your everyday lives, if you just take one should out.
Yeah.
Just
notice it.
Or notice it, acknowledge it, and go, look, this is a should. I'm going to do it this time.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to stop doing this.
Hear yourself saying it. It's really powerful when you hear yourself saying it.
And sometimes even when you look back on something, you go, oh, yeah, that was a should.
Yeah.
And you can release any control that should had over you.
Yes.
And, you to take back and to be able to step into your authentic self and to get your back into alignment of who you want to be and where you want to go, and get that high vibeness in your life.
Yes.
On a much more regular basis. Some people can do it all the time.
Yeah.
But on, a much more regular basis, then start to say, Faark The Shoulds. I'm sorry, that's a should for me, and I'm not going to commit to that.
Yes. And high vibeness is not about being happy all the time, because there is no contrast in life if you're happy all the time. You're probably just delusional or on some kind of chemical that helps create that, but it's false, right? It's about drinking in the moments, even the moments of quiet, and being fully present to those and cognizant of those, of the richness of every experience. But I do think high vibe living and fucking the shoulds is all about allowing the universal momentum of energy to guide us to live our best lives. And that is the most overused term, and it sounds like a complete wank fest, which is not how I mean to use it. But
maybe a good way to start is to Fark. I should. It
should. We will see you next time, should you decide to join us. I'm kidding. You'll want to. Of course you'll want to. Who knows what we're going to talk about? We're going to get to it again sometime soon.
And it might just very well be a topic you need to hear.
Correct. Well, we just need to talk about, and you can be our therapist.
And a lot of this is stuff that we want to get out.
Yeah.
Because it's stuff that if we hold on to, it slows us down from being in our high vibe.
Absolutely. State. And creates sludge in the communal energetic field. So we're going to clear it.
Yep. And if it helps to just move a little bit of what's going on for you, then that's an amazing bonus.
The kids are coming in. Our time is up. Big love to you, beautiful QuantiMama community.
Bye.
Bye.